Join ForumIAS Academy, trusted by hundreds of toppers, including IAS Rank 1 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐥 Sharma.
Good evening aspirants, welcome to the Hindu News Analysis discussion brought to you by ForumIAS for the date 8th of July 2023. These are a list of news articles for today's discussion. We will be covering 5 topics from governance perspective and also covering science and technology aspects. Alongside this, we will also be covering 2 previous year prelims questions at the end of the discussion. With this, straight away, let us move to our first article of the day. First topic, Jammu Kashmir administration hardens its stand on land to landless scheme. Before getting into the topic, let us know some basic facts regarding the Jammu Kashmir land administration. First is the Union Territory of Jammu Kashmir Reorganization, 3rd Order 2020. The new law explicitly omitted the exclusive right on land earlier which was available to its permanent residents. So now no domicile or permanent residence certificate is required to buy land in Jammu and Kashmir. The term permanent resident of state has now been removed from important provisions of laws. Secondly, land acquired by the government for industrial or commercial purposes can now be allowed to be sold to anyone. The amended laws also opens up urban or non-agricultural land for purchase by outsiders. Thirdly, this law now permits contract farming on agricultural lands, and nothing shall prohibit the transfer of ownership of land for contract farming or for the grant of lease or mortgage for the loan purposes. Know that the law doesn't impose any limit on the quantum of area for building a residence or a shop, because this is existing in the certain hilly states including Himachal Pradesh. In addition to all that, Real Estate Act of 2016 has been notified in the Union Territory of Jammu Kashmir. Now, if we take the Jammu Kashmir Industrial Development Corporation, the government has provided for the establishment of JKIDC for industrial development in Jammu Kashmir. The objectives of this corporation is to promote and assist in rapid and orderly growth and development of industries in the Union Territory of Jammu Kashmir. To develop land for the establishment of industries and to establish and manage industrial estate is also one of the objectives of this corporation. Then if we take the powers of JKIDC, it will be empowered to acquire and hold both movable and immovable properties. Then they could also purchase any land by agreement or to take on lease or under any form of tenancy. Then they make available lands on hire or sale to industrialists or persons who are intending to start industrial undertakings. Then know that the JK administration can declare an area as strategic area. That is, if requested by an army officer not below the rank of commander in written, then the government can declare any area as a strategic area within the local area. This area will only be used for direct operational and training requirements of armed forces and may be excluded from the operation of this land and rules regulation. Then know that there are no restriction on the purchase of farmland by non-JK agriculturists. Though Centre has completely barred sale of agriculture land to non-agriculturists, it has provided for several situations under which sale can still happen. Such land can be transferred to government or a company or corporation or a board established, owned and controlled by the government. And know that for public purposes, such transfer can also happen in favor of public trust for charitable purposes. Then another important matter of fact is that all such non-agriculturists would have to use the allotted land only for purpose intended during the allotment and would never be recognized as agriculturist. Then there is a provision led to dilution of restriction on conversion of agricultural land to non-agricultural land. See, earlier such conversion could only be done with the permission of revenue minister. It can now be done with the permission of district collector itself. Then there is a special protection that has been given to grazing land or those that grow fuel and fodder. So these are certain relaxations that are brought with respect to land administration in Jammu Kashmir. In that line only, the Lieutenant Governor administration in JK is seeking to implement the land to landless scheme in Jammu Kashmir. This is nothing but the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin, which is being implemented all over the country. See, the rural housing scheme Indira Awas Yojana has been revamped to Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin, and it was approved during the month of March 2016. Under the scheme, financial assistance is provided for construction of Pakka houses for all houseless and households living in the dilapidated houses. Know that the scheme would be implemented in rural areas throughout India except few union territories. The cost of houses would be shared between the center and states, which is also one of the provisions under this scheme. Know that based on the housing deprivation parameters of socio-economic caste census 2011 and subject to 13-point exclusion criteria, the beneficiaries will be selected, and it will be followed by Gram Sabha verification also. So now this scheme is getting implemented in Jammu Kashmir, which the Lieutenant Governor himself describes as a path-breaking move. So that is all about the article. Second topic, Supreme Court turns down petition on protection for posh plaintiffs. See, the Supreme Court recently refused to entertain a plea related to POCSO Act. This plea seeks direction to protect complainants and witnesses under the POCSO Act from victimization or retaliation by accused persons or organizations involved. So, from this context, let us in detail know about POCSO. See, sexual harassment at workplace is one of the issues faced by women in the modern world. It not only violates their right to equality, life and liberty, but also discourages their participation in economic activities. So now, what is this sexual harassment at workplaces? The Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act of 2013 defines sexual harassment as one of the unwelcome act or behavior, such as involving in physical contact and advances, demand or request for sexual favors, making sexually colored remarks, showing pornography, or any other unwelcome physical, verbal, non-verbal conduct of sexual nature falls under the definition of sexual harassment. Know that the workplace includes any government or private sector organizations, etc. It also covers unorganized and domestic workers, hospitals, any sports institutes, or any place visited by the employee during her course of employment. Then now, let us see the conditions in India with regarding to sexual harassment. Following the data provided by Ministry of Women and Child Development, between the years 2015 to 17, a total of 1,631 cases have been filed under the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplaces Act of 2013. And there is a wide disparity among states. For example, Uttar Pradesh recorded for nearly 25% of all cases, followed by Delhi, which accounts for 16% of cases. Then secondly, Indian National Bar Association conducted a survey of over 6,000 employees in the year 2017. The survey found that sexual harassment is widespread in different job sectors. They also found the harassment varies from vulgar comments to an outright demand for sexual favors. But in spite of all these things, the government has been taking certain initiatives aimed at preventing, prohibiting and redressing the sexual harassment at workplaces. Firstly, prior to the Act, sexual harassment was addressed under the Indian Penal Code provisions dealing with outraging the modesty of women either by force or by word or act under various sections. Secondly, know that India has signed the Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. India has also ratified the convention later. Then thirdly, in 1997, as part of the Vishaka judgment, the Supreme Court laid down specific guidelines known as Vishaka Guidelines. These guidelines focused on prevention of sexual harassment of women at the workplaces. Then the government enacted the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act of 2013. The major provisions of the Act were like the Act defines sexual harassment at the workplace. Then in addition, the Act creates mechanism for redressal of complaints. Alongside that, it also provides safeguards against false or malicious charges. Then know that every workplace is required to constitute an internal complaints committee. This ICC is mandatory at each office which has 10 or more employees. Another matter of fact is that the internal complaints committees will have the power of civil courts for gathering evidences. Then this act also prescribes penalties for employers. That is, non-compliance with the provision of the act shall be punishable with a fine. Then, in case of repetition of violations, higher penalties and cancellation of license to conduct business is also present. Further, Section 354A was added to the IPC through Criminal Law Amendment Act of 2013. It also provides for enough punishment for sexual harassment of women at the workplace. And know that Union Ministry of Women and Child Development has set up a committee under Justice J.S. Verma to curb sexual harassment at workplace following the Me Too campaign on social media. Finally, the Ministry of Women and Child Development also created an online complaint management system known as 𝐒𝐻, where women can use this 𝐒𝐻 for registering complaints related to sexual harassment at the workplace. Know that once a complaint is submitted to the portal, it will be directly sent to the internal complaints committee. Now, coming to the challenges associated with the act, that is the Prevention of Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplaces Act, does not cover women working as agricultural workers and women in armed forces. These are largely male dominated sectors. Secondly, it is not gender neutral. The law does not take into account sexual harassments faced by transgender community and transsexual individuals. Then the third challenge is the non-compliance of companies. There are many private companies that doesn't have a committee, that is the internal complaints committee, to look into the complaints of sexual harassment at the workplace. Then another factor is issues with ICC. Most of the committees lack people who have knowledge about legal technicalities involved in conducting the inquiry, cross-examination and its importance. Then victimization in sexual harassment often occur, especially when a woman lodges a complaint against the superior. The act is silent on victimization and has neither any preventive provision nor any remedies. For example, a survey revealed that nearly 70% of women did not complain due to fear, embarrassment, lack of confidence in complaint mechanisms, etc. Now, as a way forward, the government should come forward to amend the act to include some of the important recommendations suggested by Justice J.S. Verma committee. The important recommendations were the committee recommended a tribunal instead of an ICC because dealing with such complaints internally could discourage women from complaining. Then the committee said that rather than functioning as a civil court, the tribunal may choose its own procedure to deal with each complaint. The committee believed that this will result in speedy disposal of cases. Finally, the committee opposed penalizing women for false complaints. The committee observed punishing women can nullify the very objective of the law. So these are the points which could be taken as a way forward. So from this news article, we dealt about POCSO Act and the other legal mechanisms that are available to prevent sexual harassment of women at workplaces. And also we saw about the challenges associated with this act. So with this, let us close this news article here and move to the next topic. Third topic, selective ban of messaging apps may be looked at, says TRAI. See, earlier TRAI had recommended that there was no need to regulate OTT communication services, saying that encryption of data makes it difficult for anyone to access the content of conversation. So it was against regulating communication services earlier. But now it has changed its view on this matter and has released a consultation paper asking if it would be possible for messaging apps such as WhatsApp to be brought under a licensing framework. Because TRAI is saying instead of complete internet shutdown in peace affected areas, why don't we ban apps selectively in places where law and order becomes a problem? That is what the news is about. In this context, let us know about TRAI from prelims angle. See, if we take the history of TRAI, TRAI was established on the year 1997 by an act of parliament, which means TRAI is a statutory body. It was established to regulate telecom services and tariffs in India, and earlier regulation of telecom services and tariffs was overseen by the central government, but now a separate regulatory body has been put into place. And now coming to the mission of TRAI, TRAI's mission is to create and nurture conditions for growth of telecommunication in India. That is, to enable India to have a leading role in emerging global information society. One of its main objective is to provide a fair and transparent environment that promotes a level playing field and fair competition in the market. Know that TROI regularly issues orders and directions on various subjects such as tariffs, quality of service, DTH services, mobile number portability, etc. Then by the year 2000, TROI was amended to establish the Telecom Dispute Settlement Appellate Tribunal to take over the adjudicatory functions of TROI. This Telecom Dispute Settlement Appellate Tribunal was set up to resolve any dispute between a licensor and licensee. Not only that, even disputes between two or more service providers, then between a service provider and a group of consumers are also resolved by TD-SAT. In addition, any directions, orders or decisions of TROI can be challenged by appealing to TD-SAT. Since this move of TROI to regulate the communication service itself arises out of the need to avoid constant and long-term internet shutdown, let us in brief know about the provisions regarding the internet shutdown in India. See, India's legislation does not directly address internet shutdowns, but several legal frameworks are used to govern this practice. First is the Section 144 of Code of Criminal Procedure. This section allows district authorities to issue orders in urgent cases of danger. But however, after Anuradha Bhasin judgment by the Supreme Court, there has been a shift towards imposing internet shutdown under the more specific Temporary Suspension of Telecom Services Rules 2017 rather than a broader and a more general Section 144. Second is the Information Technology Act of 2000. See, the act allows for blocking of websites that present threats to national sovereignty, integrity or defense. This act is often invoked as a legal basis for some internet shutdown, though the act itself was designed for website blocking only rather than entire network shutdown. Then now coming to the Temporary Suspension of Telecom Services Rules 2017, know that it is the primary piece of legislation that governs internet shutdowns in India. According to these rules, internet services can be temporarily suspended in cases of public emergency or public safety. Know that the order for a shutdown must come from government official who is not below the rank of Joint Secretary to GOI. And there will be a review committee which must assess the situation within 5 working days. So these are the legal frameworks for internet shutdown. And from this article we saw about TROI from prelims angle and also about the legal frameworks that are available for internet shutdown. So that is all about the article. With this article, let us close this topic and move to the next topic. Fourth topic, government to share PM Gatti Shakti data. The news is that the government is working out a mechanism to share public data with industry and potential investors. This data is about the multimodal connectivity as well as other physical and social infrastructure captured on the PM Gatti Shakti platform. So from this context, let us know about PM Gatti Shakti. See, PM Gatti Shakti is a digital platform that connects 16 ministries including road and highways, railways, shipping, petroleum and gas, power, aviation, etc. The motive is to ensure holistic planning and execution of infrastructure projects. If we take the aim of PM Gatti Shakti aims to institutionalize holistic planning for major infrastructure projects. The project will be designed and executed with a common vision and it will incorporate the infrastructure scheme of various ministries and state governments such as Bharatmala road project, Sagarmala waterways plan and the Udan scheme, etc. Now if we take the coverage under the PM Gatti Shakti scheme, economic zones like textile clusters, pharmaceutical clusters, defense corridors, electronic parks, agri zones will be covered to improve connectivity and make Indian businesses more competitive. Know that it will also leverage technology extensively, including spatial planning tools with ISRO satellite imagery. And moreover, this will be used for real-time monitoring of projects. Now let us see what are the services that will be provided by the PM Gatti Shakti. First is planning and obtaining clearances. The portal will offer 200 layers of geospatial data, including existing infrastructure such as roads, highways, toll plazas. It will also have geographic information about forests, rivers and district boundaries to aid in planning and obtaining clearances. Second is the centralized tracking of projects. See, the portal will also allow various government departments to track the progress of various projects in real time and at one centralized place. Third service is to prioritize projects. See, through Gatti Shakti, different departments will be able to prioritize their projects through cross-sectoral interactions. Final point is the project clearance. The portal will also highlight all the clearances that any new project would need based on its location. It will also allow stakeholders to apply for these clearances from the relevant authority directly on the portal. The objective is to streamline the process and shorten the period required for clearances. But there are certain challenges that are associated with the functioning of PM Gatti Shakti. Let us see that also. First is the investment from states. See, the economic survey for the year 2020 to 21 underscored the role of active center-state partnership for infrastructure building. Adding to that, the survey projects maximum investments today towards NIP sector such as energy, roads, urban infrastructure and railways amounts to about 8.5 lakh crores, which has to be invested by either side. That is, center also should invest, state also should invest annually, so that this 8.5 lakh crore worth of infrastructure could be attained. But with the pandemic and its associated challenges, the state government doesn't have enough finance to invest such large amounts. This will delay the implementation of the master plan. That is what it is said. Then another challenge is the low credit offtake. According to the RBI's paper, the growth rate in credit offtake has steeply declined to nearly 6% by the year 2020, but it was 14.2% in the year 2013. So this will reduce private investments in infrastructure projects. At present, there are concerns about the declining credit offtake trends from bank, as they don't want to get into another NPA crisis in future. Finally, it is said that the plan does not address a few key infrastructural challenges. See, land acquisition is often the biggest impediment in the development of India. Many development projects get delayed due to land acquisition issues. Further, these delays add up to the cost of many projects, making them a less efficient and more costly project for development. There are other issues like litigation issues, alienation of local communities, violation of environmental norms, etc. These issues make the rate of implementation of project very slow on global standards. And by that way, the Gatti Shakti master plan offers little solution to these major challenges that we discussed now. But as a way forward, we can say, to the proper implementation of PM Gatti Shakti, India needs to address structural and macroeconomic stability concerns that emanates from high public expenditure. So that is all about the article. So from this article, we saw about PM Gatti Shakti, the challenges associated with it, then the services which is offered under the PM Gatti Shakti scheme. So with this, let us close this news article here. Fifth and the final topic, words like fake, false, misleading in IT rules problematic. See, the Bombay High Court has taken up a case challenging IT amendment rules of 2023. In that case proceedings, the High Court observed that words like fake, false and misleading that are part of new information technology rules were problematic. So in this context, let us know more about the IT amendment rules of 2023. See, the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology notified the IT amendment rules of 2023, which are the amendment to IT rules of 2021. The new amendment to IT rules has generated intense debate, with some arguing that they could curtail freedom of speech and expression online, while others believe that the new amendment are necessary to prevent the spread of fake news and other harmful content. Let us know about the provisions now. First is introduction of fact check bodies. The recent amendment to IT rules introduces the creation of fact-check bodies to identify whether information related to the central government is accurate or not. Then the second provision is the regulation of social media intermediaries. The new amendment also regulates social media intermediaries like Facebook and Twitter. This is to take down posts and demand internet service providers to block URLs that are marked as fake. Know that failure to do so could lead to social media platforms losing their safe harbor protection. Then the third provision is the identification and removal of fake news. The amendment aims to identify and remove fake news to prevent its spread, especially during difficult times where it can incite violence and cause panic. Then the other provision is ensuring accountability of online platforms. The amendment seeks to ensure accountability of online platforms by requiring them to follow a code of ethics, and they are asked to take measures to prevent the misuse of their platforms. Then addressing national security concerns. The amendment aims to address national security concerns by allowing the government to take down online content that threatens the sovereignty and integrity of India. Then the amendment provides a legal framework for tech regulations and clarifies the responsibility of online platforms, social media intermediaries and the government in regulating online content. So that is what it is known as providing a legal framework for tech regulation. But there are some of the challenges which are associated with the amendment as well. Let us see that also. First is lack of clarity on what constitutes fake, false or misleading information. The amendment does not provide a clear definition of what type of information qualifies as fake, false or misleading. So this is said to lack clarity, thereby creating ambiguity and can lead to arbitrary censorship by the government. This is what the 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐬𝐫, that is the High Court, has also observed now. The second challenge related to the censorship and freedom of speech. See, the fact check unit of central government has been given unprecedented power to censor any content that deemed to be misleading. So this could potentially infringe upon the freedom of speech and expression of citizens. Then the third point is lack of transparency and accountability. The proposed amendments do not provide any criteria or guidelines for the government to declare any information as fake or false. Thereby it is set to set a pathway leading to potential misuse of power. Moreover, the lack of due process, notice and hearing of originators and creators of information may lead to arbitrary takedown and lack of accountability. So these are few challenges with respect to the new amendment rules, and here the government, we can say as a way forward that the government should work with civil society, media organizations and other stakeholders to develop a more transparent and participatory process for determining what content should be considered fake or misleading. So that is what the challenges are all about. So from this news article we saw about the provisions relating to the IT rules of 2023 and also challenges associated with it and a way forward. So with this, let us close our news articles discussion here and move to the previous year prelims questions of the day. Now coming to the previous year prelims questions, the two questions that we are going to discuss now has appeared in the year 2018. Consider this. First question, with reference to the provisions made under the National Food Security Act 2013, consider the following statements. First statement, the families coming under the category of below poverty line only are eligible to receive subsidized food grains. Statement 2, the eldest women in a household of age 18 years or above shall be the head of the household for the purpose of issuance of ration card. Statement 3, pregnant women and lactating mothers are entitled to a take-home ration of 1600 calories per day during pregnancy and for 6 months thereafter. Which of these statements given above is or are correct? The options given are option A 1 and 2, option B 2 only, option C 1 and 3 only, option D 3 only. See, first statement is wrong because the Act provides for coverage of up to 75% of rural population and up to 50% of urban population. This is for receiving subsidized food grains under the targeted public distribution system. Thus, on a whole, it covers 2/3 of the population. So, first statement is wrong. If we remove first statement, we will end up with option B or D. Second statement is correct because it provides the eldest women of the household of age 18 years or above to be the head of household. And if we take the third statement, this is wrong because besides meal to pregnant women and lactating mothers during pregnancy and 6 months after the childbirth, women will be entitled to receive maternity benefit of not less than 6,000 rupees. And since the second statement is correct, the answer for this question is option B, 2 only. Second question, with reference to digital payments, consider the following statements. Statement 1, BIM app allows the user to transfer money to anyone with a UPI enabled bank account. Statement 2, while a chip PIN debit card has 4 factors of authentication, BIM app has only 2 factors of authentication. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? The options given are option A, 1 only, option B, 2 only, option C, both 1 and 2, option D, neither 1 nor 2. See, first statement is correct. The BIM interface for money, which is the BIM, is a payment app that lets you make simple, easy and quick transaction using UPI. You can make direct bank payments to anyone on UPI using their UPI ID or scanning their QR with the BIM app. You can also request money through the app from UPI ID. So first statement is correct. Second statement is wrong because from a consumer point of view, there are 3 levels of authentication that are required in the app. It is not 2 factors of authentication. So one is the device ID and mobile number, then the bank account which you are linking to this app, then finally the UPI PIN which is needed to complete the transaction. So BIM app requires 3-factor authentication. This statement is wrong. The answer for this question is option A, 1 only. With this we have come to the end of news articles and previous year questions discussion. Let us wind up our discussion here. If you like the video and if you can understand the concepts well, please like, comment, share and subscribe to Forum IAS Academy in various social media platforms for further updates. Thank you for listening.